All right, folks, shalom and welcome to the Fight for Israel, Israel at War update here with Yishai Fleischer. And we are going live on my Facebook page, on Twitter, and that's called Periscope, and on YouTube. Join me, let me know how you hear the sounds, and if you're seeing me well, and if everything is going good. We have about 30, 40 minutes of update for you about what's going on in this conflict in Israel and also around the world, because you see the conflict has actually gone global. That's right. There are riots and protests all over the world, but those have turned violent against Jews in places like Los Angeles. We'll see some footage from there. In the meantime, the Jewish community of Hebron, that's where I have the great privilege of working. That is where the forefathers and mothers of the Jewish people are buried. That's Abraham and Sarah, Isaac and Rebekah, Jacob and Leah. That's the tomb of the patriarchs and matriarchs, the Machpelah. And we have a beautiful Jewish community there, which is oftentimes challenged by the jihad because we're really in the midst of a large Arab city there called Hebron, or they call it Khalil. And we have our community there, including our sister community, Kiryat Arba. And those, as the rest of Israel, are under attack. And we've had really two great miracles in the last few days. Thank God, and thank also the IDF and our security services that are part of the daily defense of the Jewish community of Hebron. We've had two miraculous, the bad guys are out there. They're coming to kill Jews, and when they're stopped and nobody gets hurt, that's a miraculous. Yoni Bleichbard Yonatan Bleichbard is the chief security officer of Hebron. He was at both of those events, and he joins us right now. Yoni, thank you so much for giving us your time.
Good evening, Yishai.
Okay, so Yoni, tell me a little bit about the situation at both of these events. I saw your Jeep show up there very quickly. First guy came in, what was it, 3 days ago, and he came in strapped with bombs. What was that about?
Yeah, he drove his car down from a neighborhood called Abu Snena. Before he got to the checkpoint, he pulled over and put a bag near a garbage pail. Then he turned to the other side, took out a machine gun, and tried to shoot at the soldier that was posted over there. Thank God the machine gun did not work.
It jammed.
It was jammed. And afterwards we have special cameras over there that he tried to make the machine gun work for over 15 seconds. When he realized that it's jammed, totally jammed, he ducked down and pulled out of the bag one of 3 grenades. And then came the second miracle. It is homemade grenades, so it blew up in his hands. He started running around and shouted, Allahu Akbar. That's when the soldier realized that he was trying to attack him and penetrate through the outpost into a neighborhood filled with children, and he shot him. We heard the shot. We heard the grenade explode. We went out. We saw him charging at the soldier and getting killed. We also saw that there were suspicious objects around, and thank God it turned out that it was a very well planned attack, and he thought of penetrating into the neighborhood. And once the reinforcements come from all over the city, the army, he would then start the second very big bomb and blow up all the soldiers that came to help. There was a very big miracle, and thank God. But we had our main street closed for over 4 hours in order to neutralize all the explosive devices he had in his car and scattered around. but a big miracle we got yesterday.
Wow, that's an amazing. That is an amazing miracle. That is an absolutely amazing miracle. And he could have done tremendous damage to children, to soldiers, to residents of the community. And
But
the
wait,
gun.
Ishai, I forgot. I forgot the first miracle. He had a partner that threw an explosive device about 50 meters to the east of the outpost. Luckily enough, the soldier was wise enough to report about the explosion, but he did not leave his outpost. Think what would have happened if he would have left his outpost. Then everything would have been clear for the terrorist to go inside the neighborhood and butcher innocent children.
Now, Lou Weiss, who helps me with the show, writes, I read that there was a female terrorist at the entrance of Kiryat Arba, that's our sister city, that was shooting at innocent people today, and she was neutralized. She was actually neutralized. So that's the second attack that happened today. Tell us about that.
Another miracle. I hope thank God loves us, because we are the sons of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We are his sons, and that's why he loves us. A woman terrorist gets out of a car near the Kiryat Arba junction with an M16. She loads the M16 with a 30 bullet magazine and starts shooting at women and children at the bus stop who are waiting for the bus to travel to Jerusalem. There are two soldiers that are guarding the bus stop, and they reacted very, very quickly and neutralized that vicious animal. And
so there's tons of footage of this lady. I've seen it now from 3 different cameras, and in the end, also there was a picture. I think I have it here. And I'm going to put it up in just a second right now, even though it's a little bit unpleasant, but it's important for people to see it. Just give me 1 second, and I will share my screen here, and show people what this lady looked like. Now, the reason I'm showing this is because there was right in front of her the M16. Now, this is a lady. Now, okay, men and women can both be terrorists. Still, though, it's a little bit unusual to see a lady and then not a Carl Gustav gun or not like a handgun, but like a full-on M16, probably stolen from the IDF at some point.
Ishai, excuse me for interrupting. She is not a lady. It's an animal, and only an animal is able to take a rifle and to shoot innocent people. She's not a lady.
Look, by the way, I want you to notice that this post that I found on Twitter about this incident says like this: one of the settler known in Hebron execute lady Palestinian cold blood near the settlement Kiryat Arba in Hebron. Few minutes later, throwing before it gun, meaning to say that the claim here is that it's the M16 that was put in front is completely faked, and I want to show you that
she's right, and we're shooting the south with thousands of rockets, so we could have a justification to bomb Gaza. That's right,
Mm-hmm.
And we are beating up Jews in Los Angeles and calling it anti-Semite. And we, of course, Jews are the cause of all the problems in the world. We brought in COVID-19. We are the blame for the starvation in Africa. I am the blame for everything.
Well, I think I know you're being facetious. There's the video of this woman with this terrorist, this jihadist terrorist, with that M16, and so you see how things are twisted. And were you able to see that video? Was I showing that video just now? Did people see what I was showing?
No, I couldn't. I saw it live, but
yeah, you saw right. let me try to show that one more time, just to make sure that everybody sees exactly that video. 1 second here. Let me share that. All right. Do you see the video now, Yoni?
Yeah, I see it, and I see her shooting.
There she is. She came out of the car and she's shooting, and by complete and utter miracle, did not hit right across from where this video is being taken from on the ground level. There are pedestrians waiting for it's a hitchhiking post. There are soldiers. I'm there almost every single day at this intersection. Interestingly, I wanted to ask you, your Jeep, is that your Jeep that pulled up right afterward? Right after the shooting? I saw a Jeep that looks like your Jeep, and it came there. I thought it was you, right?
Yeah. Guilty as charged.
Yeah, how did you show up right immediately there in Kiryat Arba,
I was on my way for a debriefing in the army base, and I heard that there were shots fired at the bus station, so I simply pulled over and turned around and got there in about a minute.
Amazing that you showed up there, and really amazing. And we've had attacks where we haven't been as lucky, and this one was definitely a lot of blessings. Two in a row, and may Hashem continue to protect us and people like yourself, like the IDF and our security services. You're the chief of security in Hebron, and your job is made better and safer when you have proper equipment, including ALS life-saving equipment, including tactical helmets and things like that to defend the Jewish community. And if people want to help Hebron continue to stay safe, and you to stay safe, and you to keep other people safe, I want everybody to check out HebronFund.org. Hebron Fund. That's where we let people that want to help Israel stay strong, help them connect and help them fund these life-saving measures that yourself and also the ambulance corps and the other folks that really make life safe in Hebron and make it happen. And everybody around the world can be part of that by just going to HebronFund.org. Yoni Bleichbard, thank you so much for all the good work you did. And thanks for your prayers also. People don't know that the Psalms and the prayers and the Mesirut Nefesh, the self-sacrifice, these are the things that God sees as well and protects us. All right. Yoni, thanks again for being with us. And that's Hebron Fund, folks, HebronFund.org, an incredibly powerful organization that keeps the Jews safe in Hebron, and that keeps the place open for the rest of us, the forefathers and mothers. And that's where I have the great privilege of working. Let's also take a look at some of the other things that are happening right now. I want to show you a video that was made by an Israeli Arab. His name is Yosef Haddad. And this guy, Yosef Haddad, he is doing a great job at explaining what Israel's role is, what Israel's rights are. And I want you to check out this thing, and I want to hear from you. And in a second, I want to get to all of your comments because I see a lot of you are saying stuff. So let's just look at one video for today and get a sense of how this man, Yosef Haddad, an Israeli Arab, is actually answering none other than Rashida Tlaib and AOC. Let's see what he's got to say.
I'm an Israeli Arab from Nazareth. From an Arab to an Arab, I have a message for U.S. Representative Rashida Tlaib. In the last week, while my country has been bombarded with terrorist rockets, she has exclusively condemned Israel and spread false stories to her millions of followers. In her speech, she complained that U.S. officials support Israel's right to self-defense, but
you'd hardly know Palestinians existed at all. There has been no recognition of the attack on Palestinian families being ripped from their homes in East Jerusalem right now. No mention of children being detained or murdered. No recognition of a sustained campaign of harassment and terror.
Really? How about how you have spent a week bashing my country with no mention of the fact a 6-year-old child was murdered by Hamas? No mention of the 1,600 plus rockets, each one a war crime, fired at my family and friends. No mention of the fact that Hamas murdered Israel.
Are you hearing this well? I just want to make sure that you're hearing this well because this is very important stuff, and I just want to make sure that I'm sharing this correctly. Let's just make sure that you're hearing this correctly. Let's do share screen again and just make sure that you're getting this properly. I want to make sure that you're hearing this Israeli Arab explaining to Rashida Tlaib exactly how we feel here in Israel and exactly the rights of Jewish people in the land of Israel. So let's see how that's going. Want to make sure that you guys are all seeing this. Is everybody seeing this, or are we frozen? All right, just want to make sure that you guys are all seeing this. I feel like we're having a little bit of technical difficulties there, but hold on one second. Let me just share that one more time properly. All right, sorry about that. Let's do Chrome tab, and that's right, share audio. That's what I missed. Here, let's do it again, and we'll see it much better now. Let's do that again right from the start here, from the top.
And I'm an Israeli Arab from Nazareth. From an Arab to an Arab, I have a message for U.S. Representative Rashida Tlaib. In the last week, while my country has been bombarded with terrorist rockets, she has exclusively condemned Israel and spread false stories to the millions of followers. In her speech, she complained that U.S. officials support Israel's right to self-defense, but
You'd hardly know Palestinians existed at all. There has been no recognition of the attack on Palestinian families being ripped from their homes in East Jerusalem right now. No mention of children being detained or murdered. No recognition of a sustained campaign of harassment and terror.
really, how about how you have spent a week bashing my country with no mention of the fact?
I think that's exactly where we got stuck last time. And what I really love about Yosef Haddad is that he's doing a great job at really attacking Rashida Tlaib and telling her head on, like, you cannot speak for us Arabs here. You're not really paying attention to what's going on. And he is saying it with great clarity. And I wish that we didn't have some technical issues right now for you to watch it live, but it is important that you see this stuff. Let's maybe go on to some other stuff that's happening right now that is so important. First thing is that I want to mention that. Oh, here you go.
Old child was murdered by Hamas. No mention of the 1,600 plus rockets, each one a war crime fired at my family and friends. No mention of the fact that Hamas murdered Israeli Arab Muslims in Lod. No mention of the fact that Palestinians started a violent riot at Al-Aqsa, which is why police were forced to involve in the first place. No mention of the fact that this terrorist organization is targeting 1.9 million Israeli Arabs. All that they have already murdered 17 Palestinians in Gaza with rockets intended to hit Israel. Do those Palestinians' lives not matter, Rashida? But there is more.
How would you feel it if you lived in Gaza, where your power and water might be out for days or weeks at a time?
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because this week it was Hamas who knocked out electricity for 250 Palestinians with a rocket, something they've done many times before. Then again, none of this is really surprising, since it's all about you. You're hijacking the black struggle in America to make it about yourself. But Arabs in Israel and Palestine have nothing to do with America's history of racism. Rashida, I'm telling you, as an Arab Israeli on the ground, your words contribute to division and violence in my country, where you don't have to live with the consequences. Represent your people. In Michigan, because you're sure as hell with Matlinash, you don't represent us.
Wow. Nailed it. Okay. That is great. That is just a great way to end it. He's just like, you sure as hell do not represent us. I think that's amazing, and respect to Yosef Haddad, who, by the way, got engaged today. That is just an amazing piece of an answer to the hate against Israel coming from Rashida Tlaib, and she's like representing the Palestinians. And here comes this Israeli Arab. He's like, go back to Michigan. You don't represent us, and we don't need you here, and you're full of lies. And I think that's just fabulous. I think it's fabulous that he's able to say that to her. And who else is gonna be able to stand up to her and just be like, you're not talking the truth. You're lying, and you're not part of this region, and you're falsely representing our region, and we don't need your lies, and we don't need your we don't need the world. Us Israeli Arabs are actually suffering because you support Hamas. You support Hamas and do not support the good guy in the region, which is Israel. Now, for Rashida Tlaib, it's fine to support Hamas, right? Because that's who pays her salary and I guess the extra salary that she gets other than the American government and all that. But average people, they're the ones that are being injured by Rashida Tlaib's and by her pro-Hamas. You think average Arabs are like, yeah, Hamas, great. Ask, by the way, I was reminded of the Iranian expats that live in Los Angeles. They are all anti the Iranian regime. They left it, and they're like, Hamas, Iran, Turkey, Erdogan's Turkey. It's all garbage. We don't want that. We ran away from that. And here comes Mrs. Jihad Squad Tlaib, teamed up with Jihad Joe over there. And I don't know if you know that there's been some back and forth between Rashida Tlaib and the president, and I want to show you that as well. Let's take a look at that. It's a New York Times article. We'll see it in a second, and here it is. So on tarmac in Detroit, Representative Rashida Tlaib confronted Biden on U.S. support for Israel. So they have this big photo op where they're holding hands, where they're supporting, and in the end of the story is that President Biden said, I admire your intellect, I admire your passion, and I admire your concern for so many other people. Mr. Biden said before referring to Ms. Tlaib's grandmother, Muftia Tlaib, who lives in the West Bank. From my heart, I pray that your grandma and family are well. I promise you I'll do everything to see that they are. Now, this is all just song and dance. This is all just a kind of play in order to show that Biden is understands the plight of the Palestinians, that he cares about Tlaib's intellect and her grandmother. This grandmother thing keeps going. This has been like a professional grandmother scene, that she's this like the poster grandmother. We've actually seen pictures of her. Rashida Tlaib, I remember years ago, I posted, it wasn't years ago, it was like when Tlaib came into office. So I got to find this picture now. So what I did was Tlaib posted a very sad picture of her grandmother under the occupation, but she forgot that only a few months earlier, she posted a picture of her grandmother happy and shopping in a big shopping plaza. And wow, I was reminded of this. And I put the pictures together and I said, well, which grandma do you want to portray to us? The like sad grandma or happy grandma? Well, which one is it? Happy grandma shopping in a big, Arab city in the land of Israel? Or is it like sad grandma who's oppressed? Because you're just playing with us. You're toying with us. You're creating false images. And this whole thing about confronting, Biden on the tarmac, it's nothing but political theater to try to make us be like, wow, the president really cares and Tlaib is standing up for our rights. This is all orchestrated in order for us to be like amazed by this. They're kind of pushed forward for the freedom of Palestine. But what they really want to do, and they're in cahoots, they want to support the jihadism of Iran and their nuclear project, and they want to shrink Israel with Palestine, and they want to attack us on every side, and especially the narrative side. President Biden is playing it cool. He said some, decent things. Israel's got a right to defend themselves, yada, yada, yada. But really, we know that the money is flowing to the Palestinian Authority. We know that the money wants to flow to Iran. And basically, this is a tailwind for terror. So that's how I feel about this whole Tlaib Biden thing. My eye caught the McCarthy article, so I got confused. But I want to show you another article, which is, I think, very interesting. You know what? Maybe before I show you another article that's very interesting, let me look quickly through your comments. First thing, Lou says, looks and sounds great. Thank you, Lou. And Robert says, all my support from Mexico. Thank you, Robert. God bless you. And Michael says, Am Yisrael Chai, Kahana Tzadak. Kahana was right about how to deal with the problem. Luis says, hello, Chaverim. And Edgar says, Shalom from Texas. And of course, we got our good friend Erica who writes, Shalom, Yishay, thanks for the information and update for us. Brachot to you, blessings to you. I keep Israel in my prayers. And there's a lot of other people saying Shalom from all over the world. But I want to, here's somebody asking a real question. They say, honestly, do you believe there can be peace with the Arabs? You know what? I think there can be a détente. A détente, it's a French political word, French political word, and that word means a kind of understanding, an equilibrium, a working relationship, if you will. I think there can be one, but it is based on the absolute knowledge that Israel's here to stay and that you'll never be able to touch Israel. You'll never be able to defeat Israel. That is first and foremost. Then I think there has to be developed an Islamic idea of Israel's right in the land of Israel. We have to make that clear to people. And they have to start believing more that the Quran itself tells of the Jewish people's rights in the land of Israel. We need more imams and more muftis talking in that language. And we need to not be sissies about crushing the jihad within our land. If we crush the jihad within our land, if we show that we're serious, including, by the way, the problem of the Temple Mount, in which there is a Islamic shrine that sits atop of our holiest place and basically says Islam can defeat Israel, that is a problem, and that is a tailwind for the jihad. And so, yeah, do I think there can be peace with the Arabs? There can be détente with the Arabs. There can be understanding. Maybe we can move towards peace, really, if there's a change of heart. But right now, I say, let's not really sue for peace. Let's sue for cooperation. Let's sue for regional prosperity, things that everybody can understand. But of course, that has to be based on the sure-footed analysis that will be made in the Muslim and Arab minds in this region. Israel is not defeatable. And if Israel is not defeatable, we might as well, if you can't beat them, join them. But that is the signal that we have to give to them. And by the way, that is an Islamic principle as well. I don't want to get into it, but they understand that you know, I heard somebody say something smart, which is they said, Arabs only understand strength and they also understand weakness, meaning to say, not only do they understand Israeli strength, they understand also Israeli weakness. When we're weak, that is when it gives the tailwind to the jihad. Okay, let's see if anybody else is saying something that I want to put up. Let's see what else. Okay. Says Andrew, he says, been reading a lot of Tehillim, and there's so many promises of Hashem protecting and watching over his children. And that is from Andrew. Thank you, Andrew. That's 100% true. And Rufat Hammerstein says, as usual, they're trying to present it differently as part of their narrative war. Absolutely. And Michael says, what's up is down and what's black is white. The world is led by crazy people. Biden taking his marching orders from Tlaib. That's indeed true. That's indeed true. And Barry says, Sleepy Joe is taking orders from the Ayatollahs in Iran. All right. Where's all the anti guys? Where's all the haters today? What are you? The haters are sleeping today? What's going on? I don't see any of the haters. I don't see that. There's usually a few haters today. What's the deal? So let's see. A lot of other people didn't hear the audio. Then I fixed it. All right. Let's see this here. Here we go. Riyad Dagar says, Isha, you seem to be oblivious to the fact that Palestinians exist and they have a right to have their state live in peace with dignity. So I'm not oblivious to that claim. And let me say that I think that Palestinians do exist in a sense that there are people who today claim that they're called Palestinians. That's fine. That's a self-identification. There's no, if somebody says to me, I'm a Palestinian, I say, great, you have a right to say, to call yourself whatever you want. But if somebody says to me there was a historic Palestine, then I'm like, no. See, there never existed a Palestine beforehand. If you want to call yourself Palestinian, that's fine. If you want to make a Palestine, hey, that's, we got to discuss it or fight about it. Fine. But if you want to tell me that there was a historic Palestine, no, that never existed. And with the next part, which you say that that Palestinians have a right to their state, I don't think so. They may have a right to their state somewhere else, but this is our land. You cannot have a state on my land. That's wrong. I don't think you have a right to self-determination on what's mine. That would be theft. And I do not believe for 1 second that there should be I don't believe for 1 second that there's Palestinian self-determination in the land of Israel. I don't believe that. And folks, I want you to practice this in the mirror. I want you to be able to say, I don't believe in Palestinian self-determination in the land of Israel. Just say that to people. Say that to your friends out there. If anybody starts the discussion, just be like, it's horrible what's happening. There's a conflict, but you know what? I simply don't believe that there's a Palestinian right to self-determination in the land of Israel, because that's the Jewish people's land. And it's a very small part of the Arab people's land, but that is historically a Jewish land. So Riyadh continues. He say, why deflect the subject and focus on Hamas? I don't know. Maybe because they're shooting rockets at us, and maybe because they're the forefront of the ideology. That's not the issue, says Riyadh. He says, end the occupation. Give Palestinians their rights. Allow the refugees you sacked during the Nakba to return to their homes, and we will have peace. And you will... Riyadh, you are so funny. You are so funny. So you're saying like this. You're saying, give up my homeland, the heartland of the homeland. Give him also the right of return to the rest of Israel. And so we'll have, how many Palestines will we have? Well, Jordan is a Palestine created on the land of Israel. Then we'll have, we'll end the occupation and give them the West Bank for a second Palestinian state. They already have a Palestinian state in Gaza. And you, of course, want the right of return to Israel, making 4 Palestinian states on one Jewish homeland. Riyadh, there won't be peace like that. I mean, there will be peace because you will be getting rid of the Jews, and then you'll have peace because it'll be Dar el Salam, the area of Islam that has conquered the world. That makes a lot of sense to me. So no Jews and no Jewish state, and there will be peace. Thank you for that offer, Riyadh, but thanks, but no thanks. We're going to keep our Jewish state and keep pushing you and your fighters back to hold on to what's right. We know what's right, and we're not going to be faked out by this fake offer. Just leave the land, and there will be peace. What a wonderful offer. Thank you, Riyadh, but not next time, okay? Next life. He says, yeah, what else? Right. I assure you, if you do what I mentioned above, Arabs and Muslims will, and it's cut off. But I'm sure it's some fantastic offer from Riyadh. Thank you. Oh, thank you very much. And yeah, no, we pass on that offer. Thank you very much, Riyadh. Let's see who else has something to say. Says Paul Pesach Gray, says King David would have crushed Hamas if he were here today. Well, that's because King David crushed the Philistines, and today's Palestinians may not be genetically or ethnically Philistines, but they present the same spiritual. They play the same spiritual role in the sense that they are trying to undermine our sovereignty, and our Philistines, that is, marauders. People who grab somebody else's land. They are seafaring people that arrived in the past. And so too today. Now, not every single Palestinian is part of that. You know what? I'll tell you how it is. Arabs who identify themselves as Ishmaelite, as Arab, as our cousins, they are indeed our cousins. And we have to treat them. They're the children of our forefather Abraham, and we have to treat them with respect. But people who identify themselves as Palestinians and want the end of the occupation because of the Nakba, then they're Philistines. Then they're enemies of Israel, and I don't owe them any respect. I owe them I owe them the respect that every human being deserves, but they are an enemy. They are an enemy, and they have to be fought. Let's keep going and see what else you guys are saying out there. A lot of good folks out there. Let's see what Sheev says. He says, how far can a human dehumanize? Bottom line, murder is murder. There's no excuse. Thank for the Israel and Palestinian children will demand peace because of your inhumane treatment of humans. The world is in the state of fear, terror, COVID-19 mandated vaccine. Please be humane again. I understand what you're saying. I think you want people to be more humane. I understand. The Hamas is and their counterparts in Iran, they're really some of the least humane people in the world, and we gotta make sure that they don't control this land because they terrorize everybody there and don't allow people to live a decent life. So we can't allow them to be the controllers. They are the ones that are inhumane. Let's see what else. Qatar support financial Hamas because Saudi's relationship with Israel. No, the Qataris support Hamas because of Qaradawi, who lives in Qatar and has poisoned those Bedouins to believe in jihadism. If Qatar would get their head screwed on straight again, like the rest of the Emirates, their neighbors, and like the movement in Saudi Arabia, if they would get their heads screwed on straight and throw off the ideology of the jihadist ideology of Qaradawi, we would be in much better shape. Let's see. Says Paul Pesach, great. Please talk about the violent repercussions the Jewish community is facing due to this war. The protests have become violent in some places in Canada. Okay, so I actually wanted to get to this. Let's share one more screen and see if we could talk about one more thing here today. And that is this story of riots in Los Angeles. Let's see Arabs try to beat up on Jews in a restaurant on the street here. Right, and there's other footage as well of this thing. There's actually an incredible piece of footage. I want to see if I could find it, and that piece of footage is of what the streets of Los Angeles are looking like these days. It's on my Twitter page, and so I really want to recommend that everybody follow my Twitter page if you want to see what's happening in Israel and you want to understand it. I want to see if I could pull up a video that I put up of what's happening in Los Angeles now. And, you know, look, Los Angeles was a place where there was a lot of Black Lives Matter. We know about that. And so Los Angeles is a tough place. And there was not a few. I see, you know what it is? I think that this Twitter page actually causes a slowdown. Yeah, I'm just going to try to shut this down because I see that the Twitter page causes a mess on my live stream, so I'm not going to turn that on again. I see now that it's the culprit of the problematic web pages for our show. But I do want to say the following. I want to say to you that London, LA, and other places have become battlegrounds against Jews because the jihad sees that, and through the Black Lives Matter movement, has seen that violence in the streets of America is acceptable, that nobody's going to do anything, that there's no police. They've learned that. And so now what they're going to do is that they're going to try to beat up on Jews in the streets. They've already seen that the police will stand by. And so it doesn't surprise me that jihadism is found in the streets of the United States. We're having a little technical difficulty here. Let's see if we can get rid of this this problematic Twitter page, which is freezing up my whole system here. In any case, folks, I want to hear more from you. So write me an email, yishai@yishaifleisher.com. And a lot of people have been writing to me about how they can help Israel right now. And I understand that very much. And I think that everybody's got to, first thing, fly the flag proudly wherever you are. Fly that flag. Oh boy. That is something that you got to do. You got to fly that flag proudly and just say, we stand with Israel. The other thing is use social media to say the truth, and don't use sissy lines, ninny lines like Israel's got a right to defend itself. Don't say that, because that just makes you sound very weak, because it's obvious that Israel's got a right to defend itself, that every country's got a right to defend itself. What you have to say is Israel's going to fight against the jihad and for its right, and it's going to reclaim its right in the land of Israel, and it's going to go with God. Don't be embarrassed to use God's name. Say it loud, say it clear that we're with God. So that's definitely something that I think is a way to go right now. And of course, I believe that you can support Israel in a million ways of donations, of being part of the fight. And I got a lot of people turning to me in private email and saying, how could I donate? What can we do? And that's exactly the right attitude, which is if Israel's in a fight, let's jump into that fight no matter what. Let's not allow that fight to go on without us. So that is something that I do recommend to all of you to jump in. Of course, as I mentioned before, Hebron Fund, we can certainly use your help right now in strengthening our defense capabilities and our first response, rapid response teams. And YishaiFleisher.com, we got a lot of projects that we're helping people all over really hold on strong against the jihadis. And against the enemies of Israel, and to strengthen Jewish consciousness and a love of Judaism and a love of the Jewish people and a love of the land of Israel. We're working very hard to make sure that there's that kind of consciousness in the land. So I'm having a little bit of a technical difficulty, so I don't even know if you're exactly seeing me, and I hope that you are. I'm never going to use Twitter on the live stream again because I could see what a mess it makes. So that's too bad because it's a very useful tool for me. And I want to wish you guys lots of blessings from the land of blessings. Lots of love to you from this good land. And I want to tell you that we are staying positive. We are under attack. We're having a crisis, but that far from means that we're down and out. We are going to get through this crisis and become stronger through it, more connected to our brothers and sisters around the world, more connected to our homeland, more connected to the God of Israel, who's going to give us strength. And we're going to come out of this stronger. And we're also going to have an easier time identifying our enemies. Our enemies have shown themselves, and we'll be able to fight them better. So lots of love and lots of blessings from the land of blessings. Stay tuned, stay connected. Write me an email, yishai@yishaifleischer.com. And that way we can be more connected. I'll do my best to respond to you as soon as possible. And also don't forget to say your Psalms. Don't forget to pray for the strength of Jerusalem, not just the peace of Jerusalem, but also the strength of Jerusalem. And Be'ezrat Hashem, I'll be back with you tomorrow, and we'll continue to talk about this issue and talk about this fight, the fight that we're all in, the fight for Israel. God bless you. Lots of love and shalom.